Live.
There it is.
Okay, here we are talking about the A16Z case study. I don't know how to pronounce this guy's name, so I'm just going to stick with that.
How long did it take you guys to figure out why they were calling it A16Z?
I still don't understand.
There's 16 letters between A and Z.
Yep.
Yeah, it took me a while to figure that one out.
Yeah, me too.
So what does
I read it and I'm like, I wonder why they call it that. How many letters are in between that?
Yeah, that was fun.
So there you go. Bit of trivia. We can skip a couple of questions unless somebody else wants to share a spiritual thought.
Yeah, we did that with the other one.
Yeah. Yada, yada, yada. Okay. Just somebody want to give a brief summary of this case really quick? For those of us that are extremely frustrated with this case, would like to hear it.
Well, basically venture capitalists versus A16Z.
Yeah.
Summary. There you go.
All right. We'll pick this up as we go.
Mike, do you have a summary?
What's my summary?
Not written down, but I mean, what it says that he basically wanted to disrupt the traditional venture capital model. Mm-hmm. And the way he was going to do that was to team up. I guess the people with the ideas with these like venture capital pods, if you want to. I mean, these groups where the general manager or general partner would be in charge of a particular group or something. I don't know. Does that make sense?
Kind of what I pulled. Yeah, it does make sense. Kind of what I pulled was A16Z is that, a venture capital firm that has taken what most venture capitals do and they do it a little bit different. They're based on good values and, they have a good culture behind their business.
Yeah.
Well, and I think they're giving it a more personal touch.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. Well, I'm sure we'll get to this later, so maybe I won't say that yet. I just repeat myself a lot, so ignore me when you want. Okay, why was the VC industry attractive for A16Z to enter in 2009?
No.
Why not?
Not if you just look at venture capitalists and not think about the way they're coming into it. But if you look at venture capitalism industry, at that time it wasn't a great place. Only the top 3 companies were making any money, and
only the top 3%. Yeah.
Just not attractive. What else? It said 3% generated 95% of the returns. There have been poor returns for more than a decade. The activity level had reduced by half. It really didn't look like a promising market if you were looking at a traditional venture capitalist firm.
Yeah, so, I think this is a lot because of, the crowdfunding that came out that really disrupted venture capitalists. I don't remember where it talked about that. I think I stared at this case for 3 hours and didn't even read one paragraph. It was just
I read it 3 times because I just did it.
Impressive. I barely made it through. Well, I've read parts of it more than once, but I barely made the whole, front to, not front to back, but.
Yeah, but even though I read it 3 times, it's going to have to be read again. It's very hard to follow. This is definitely a different case.
I really struggle with reading it and trying to understand it. I mean, I'd read over the questions, right? But until I started actually writing out my answers to the questions, that was when things started connecting a little bit. I still don't feel totally confident with it, but I feel like, for me anyway, the process of trying to write it and pulling that information made it a little.
I think this is the case I've struggled with the most.
Definitely.
So I
Out of all
know
the cases I've ever read, because I've done a lot of case study classes, but this one I think has been the most difficult out of on any of them I've read.
yeah. I hope that's not a look into the future of what we've got ahead of us.
Yeah. What do you think, Mike?
I wish my camera was on.
You were just talking in the last.
All right. So let's see. We kind of talked a little bit about what the competition was like, but what was? Oh, never mind. We did talk about it. What was the typical fate of new entrants in this industry?
They didn't do well.
Yeah, that's what I took. It was really hard for somebody to break through into the, the top tier.
Yeah.
Almost impossible. Now, why was that? Why was it so hard for new entrants to get into the industry? Why was it hard for them to break into the top tier?
I think there are a lot of reasons. One thing that I thought was interesting that A16Z changed was the part in the case where it talked about A16Z hiring marketing people and actually establishing a brand and advertising. And at first everybody was like, oh, you don't do that. That's horrible. But then after a while they realized, oh, wait a minute. Everybody knows about A16Z and has never heard of us. Maybe we better do marketing too. So I think that's part of the problem is it wasn't considered okay to market yourself and to get your name out there. So how can you be a new company and build something successful if you can't market?
Well, didn't they base their idea on marketing from the best talent scout in Hollywood?
Yeah.
I thought that was that's what I remember so far from the case.
Yeah.
I had forgotten about that. I'd spaced that.
I was a little confused reading that. I'm like, I'm not sure what this company does. But then I got it.
Yeah.
Let's see.
So what did you say the question was why are they not successful if they're not in the top? It says that
why
is
it hard to break into?
Yeah, why is it so hard to break into the top?
Well, it says you have to have an amazing deal flow, which I'm not 100% sure what that means, but I think it basically means all your contacts and networking is what I'm thinking. But I could be completely wrong.
I would think you needed to have a track record, but
that would make sense too.
Yeah.
But it just says an amazing deal flow, but I'm not sure what that means, deal. So.
Well, maybe it's just, the deals that they have that they're, funding or whatever. They're able to get a good return off of them.
Yeah, so a good track record. I'm going to put that here.
I just did deal flow if you want me to read it.
Yeah.
Yes, that would be great.
Okay, deal flow is a term used by financial professionals such as venture capitals, angels, angel investors, private equity investors, investment bankers to refer to the rate at which they receive business proposals. Okay, so in other words, people are coming to them for offers.
Okay, yeah.
So in other words, that has to do with reputation and track record, basically.
Yeah.
Okay.
You said business? What? A rate at which they receive business?
A rate at which they receive business proposals or investment offers.
Will you post that definition right there in our chat that you were typing in earlier?
Sure.
Thanks. Now that'll help me when I read again that. But that's right. It's a good track record.
I can find the chat. Oh, here we go. Wait a minute.
Is it word of mouth?
Pretty much, because they kind of weren't supposed to do marketing.
Right.
Where's the chat? There it is.
There's two chats we can type in here. There's one up in the left-hand corner of our.
I opened the wrong one first.
Awesome.
Either
one would have worked. Thank you. All right. With all the entrenched incumbents and catch-22s, what silver lining did A16Z see?
Well, they saw the fact that they didn't want to work with any of the venture capitalist firms that were out there. So they knew they could create something that they would want to work with, which then other people would be attracted to, that would provide the services that would be most helpful for that particular type of entrepreneur.
Yeah. Okay, so you just answered both questions. How did they plan to succeed in this difficult environment? So you've answered that. No, you're good. You're right on the ball. You're over-prepared and an overachiever, right?
Well, I just got too much to do, so I had to bust out as much as I could.
Why is A16Z? I can, for the life of me, every time I read that, it would be at 16Z or something. Or I'd just skip over the A and it was 16Z. So if I say 16Z, you know what I'm talking about.
Yeah, we know what you mean.
Why is A16Z specifically targeting first-time technical co-founders?
I think that if A16Z can get them as clients or whatever it is that they call them, and they like their experience, they'll never leave them. It becomes a loyalty thing. Because if they try and go to a venture capitalist, they'll see that they're not catering to them. So I think it's a lot of it is first ones to give them a great experience. Then it goes on to that loyalty and their deal flow. Right?
Yeah, and it's also what they know, right? That's their background, and they know what they wish they would have had when they were first time, right? So I think they have a lot of things to offer that particular segment.
That's a great point.
Well, and then I think that that a first-time seeker of venture capital would appreciate their mentoring.
Oh, that's because I think that their approach is more of a mentoring approach.
Yeah.
Right.
But I like how their approach, they said they didn't want to be a crutch, right? They wanted to provide the tools for them to be successful without being a crutch. And I think that's a really important distinction. That, yeah, we're providing a lot of help, but we're not going to do it for you.
Yeah.
But they also took them seriously. Like, I like that article that was written, that was in part of the appendix, where the guy was saying why he hates venture capitalists, you know, and he was talking about how they try to tell him, oh, it doesn't have to be serious, and then they come back later and say, well, you weren't serious enough, right? And I thought that article was really an interesting take on the traditional venture capitalists and why people didn't like that.
Was that like Exhibit 3 or somewhere around there? Oh, Exhibit 2.
Exhibit 2.
I wasn't far off. That was a good
That
guess.
my appendix is mixed up, so I can't tell you.
A16.
Thanks.
All right, page. So I'm going to write that down. How has the cost of tech startups impacted the VC industry? They've, I think it said somewhere it's gotten a lot cheaper for internet startups, hasn't it?
Yeah, a lot cheaper. And kind of like we were talking about with the other case where it's best to start with something small and beta and then work up from there. So it didn't take as much as at the outset as it used to.
Mm-hmm. Where did it say that?
What questions are you reading?
The case discussion.
The Hangout group discussion questions?
There's more than one set of questions.
I know.
The other one, not the one you're looking at.
Okay, yeah. Well, I followed you up until the Series A investors, and then that last question I didn't find.
Sorry. Have you ever what? I give those stupid answers when people ask questions. You know, what do you want to eat? No, I want food. The other one. I think it was the instructions page.
Okay, that's fine.
So, where was I now that, oh, how has it impacted the need for technical co-founders to raise capital? Well, it's a lot cheaper. We covered that.
Yep.
Do these trends apply to other sectors such as life sciences or clean tech?
I would think so.
What is clean tech?
They defined it as, where did they put that?
It's on page 14, I think.
And yeah, it's towards the end.
Says something about it being out of favor.
Isn't clean tech, isn't that like environmental? What's the word I want to? I'm gonna look it up.
I just looked it up.
Oh, thanks.
I just looked it up. I'm posting it.
Ah,
Yay!
right.
Is an industry term used to describe products or services that improve operational performance, productivity, or efficiency while reducing costs, inputs, energy consumption, waste, or environmental pollution.
Yeah, in other words, it's making management decisions or company decisions based on the environment or energy, or, you know, in other words, taking that into account.
I don't see why it wouldn't have
So it's
any effect
basically
on it.
making decisions based on the environmental impact.
Right, as opposed to just the bottom line.
Yeah.
You know, most companies traditionally just say, you know, what's the cheapest, you know, solution, and the heck with the economy. I mean, the ecology.
Right.
You know, or pollution. You know, I mean, just, you know, polluting. You know, because, well, that's the way we make money, and it doesn't matter. We'll let someone else clean it up.
Right.
It
Yeah.
doesn't work anymore.
So what was the question, Kaylee, that you posed?
Do these trends apply to other sectors such as life sciences or clean tech?
Which trends?
How has we're talking about how has the cost of tech startups impacted the VC industry, and how has it impacted the need for technical co-founders to raise capital?
I would think technology in general has gotten a little bit cheaper. So I think as a general statement, you could probably say it's affected it in the same basic way, but they have other costs to consider that might be more.
Yeah.
If that makes sense.
Well, especially if the environment's involved. Sometimes it's more expensive.
Yeah.
And people don't like to go that route, but environmental issues and I think businesses, they have very high costs.
Yeah.
They have to raise a lot of money, which people do give money for that.
Mm-hmm.
But it's usually a lot more than a basic business because, like Mike said, they're looking at the bottom line, whereas a clean tech company looks at the whole entire picture.
Yeah.
Yeah. All right, moving on. What choices do technical founders have for financing that they didn't have a decade before?
It talked about that.
Didn't you talk to something almost like a GoFundMe page?
Yeah.
What was it? It was something called almost similar, but, or was that the other case? No, it was this one.
No, it was this one.
I think that's what they have is something different where people can go out and get money from anywhere. You're not just stuck.
Crowdfunding.
Huh?
It's crowdfunding.
Crowdfunding. Thank you.
Yeah.
Where was that talking about it? I don't
I know.
remember, but it was
It's page
crowdfunding.
Yeah.
It's page 4.
So I think that's an opportunity
right.
to raise money.
Oh yeah. Yeah, I think that's definitely a huge one is crowdfunding, and everything being a little bit more cheaper to with a startup with tech.
Mm-hmm.
And then on page 5, it talks about seed stage funds, while others were co-investing with leading incubators.
Yeah.
So those are, and then industry dynamics had resulted in a more founder-friendly fundraising environment. So there's definitely a lot more options that they were looking at even when this case was written.
Yeah.
It says startups are staying private longer because they have access to plenty of capital without tapping public equity markets, and because being public imposes a bigger burden.
Yeah.
VC firms compete on their ability to source, pick, win. How does A16Z's business model influence these abilities compared to VC firms?
All right.
That was a fun one.
Yeah.
Because sourcing, they changed the way they source by, like we talked about, that marketing public relations firm. So instead of just word of mouth, they're out there saying, hey, this is who we are. So that's how they were sourcing and getting people to come to them. And then picking, they talked about how traditional venture capitalists have all the partners come together and score a possible deal. And based on those scores is whether they go with it or not. But the big guy gets veto rights. So if the big guy doesn't like them, they're out. Whereas in A16Z, anybody who felt really strongly about it could say, yeah, we're going to do this. They didn't have to have that big everybody meet and score. Nobody had veto rights. So their way of picking was very different. And then they talked about winning. Yeah, based on what they were doing, I think they were more successful winning than the traditional venture capitalist firms.
Do you remember what page this was on?
8.
It's kind of all over the place, right?
Yeah.
So I had a hard time. I was excited when I finally found all these different pieces because it had that quote on that page, but then you had to really pick through to find the answers to that.
Right, because another answer would be is the way that they were structured. It said that VC firms are structured in an inverted pyramid, a pyramid with more senior than junior professionals, where A16Z employed general partners.
Exactly. Yeah, it was a total different structure.
Professionals, yeah, and things that made it just completely different than a VC.
Which I think that has to do with the pick part of it, right? Where they get to pick in a way that wasn't this big hierarchy where top dog gets to veto and everybody else has to score. It was more everybody, more equal.
Yep, and it said that as A16, they weren't tiebreakers, and someone felt strongly about it. They had the ability to just go for it then, like, just do it. Yeah.
Yeah. Let's see. Think of source as the ability to get founders to come in the door seeking money. How does the way A16Z treats its founders differ from the way a traditional VC treats them? Will this increase, decrease, or have no effect on the number of potential deals A16Z sees compared to their competition?
I thought it was funny how they said the traditional firms would show up late and be distracted and on their phones during the meetings. Like, that's incredibly rude. Whereas A6 was like, no, if you're late, it's going to cost you. Like, we need to
cost you $10 a minute.
Yeah,
I like that.
You know, it was a huge difference.
Can I charge my employees $10 a minute if they're late?
Yeah.
Well, and if we just read in the case the different members of the operating team and who they recruited, I mean, I don't know, you guys have obviously taken the one class because you're all business majors. And I can't think what it's called, but he talks about getting the right people on the bus.
Yes. Yeah, the Good to Great book. Yeah.
Thank you. Good to Great.
Yeah.
And so it was one of those things as you read it, like they knew what they wanted and they had the right people in place, which was what made them so successful in what they were doing. And it wasn't because like they had that one skill. It's like they were very well-rounded people.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
And it was people that had worked for him before and from companies that had bought them out.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Which I found very interesting. For someone to have that much faith to go back basically to the beginning of something instead of
what was it that he said? It's hard to get a CEO to go back to being a junior partner or something.
Mm-hmm. Something like that.
The structure was so different.
Yeah.
Yeah, so that, that to me, shows promise of a company if people are willing to, go back to the beginning.
Yeah.
So how will it change if A16Z begins to fire CEOs because they are not performing well?
What was that again?
What?
How will this change if A16Z begins to fire CEOs because they are not performing well?
It's a weird question. I feel like one of the reasons they started is because they didn't appreciate that the traditional venture capitalists didn't want the founders to be CEOs anymore.
Mm-hmm.
So I think that kind of goes against their culture. They're wanting to work with the founders who are being CEOs. So I don't understand why they would even think about firing them.
Well, I like that list, they compare it to, that there's a lot of very successful companies. And I think this is exhibit 3.5.
So on page 12 at the very bottom, it kind of talks about how they're paid and kind of why they're paid that way. And I think that might be
I did not quite understand that.
But that might be kind of a little bit of the answer to the question.
Can you expound on that a little bit, Michelle? I started reading that and I was like, I highlighted it, so
it was important, and that's all. But as I'm kind of reading it, just is that everybody, so a CEO with the venture capitalist, it said that, let's see, half-hearted people are hoard information and should not, okay, you get the half-hearted commitments to help peers. So CEOs are bad, but here, because everybody's a general partner, it says they earn equal amounts. So I think if they fired CEOs, then it makes everybody equal across the board, which is sometimes what some companies need. You know how sometimes you have to be knocked at your pedestal and work at a different level to really see what's going on in your company? But so maybe, I'm thinking that part of that paragraph has something to do with that question. I just can't figure out what. I tried to explain it, but it was horrible. Mike, you're smiling. Maybe you have an answer.
I am confused beyond belief.
I know.
I didn't know if he was talking about the CEOs within A16Z or the CEOs of the people coming in. What's that?
I think it's people coming in.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, people. Yeah. You mean the CEOs of the company that are the people that are looking for money?
No. I think he's talking about their structure at A16Z.
Okay.
Yeah. Usually firms only have the top two partners getting good returns, right? So, and the best entrepreneurs want to work with the best partners. Makes sense. So it's hard to get somebody to come in and be a junior partner, so they decided not to have junior partners, just to have everybody at the same level. But I think that's the structure of A16Z that he's talking about and how their structure is different from other venture capitalists. So I don't think that has anything to do with the people they're trying to fund. That's the way I was reading it. I don't know if it's right.
Michelle's answer makes sense.
Okay.
Does it?
Yeah, in other words, you want equity across the general partners.
Mm-hmm.
That's what I said. You're right.
Sorry, don't mind me. I'm just drinking chocolate milk. It's like my favorite drink. It's how I get off of soda. Start drinking a ton of chocolate milk. All right. Where were we? Will this increase? So, a follow-up question to this last one. Will this increase, decrease, or have no effect on the number of potential deals A16Z sees compared to the competition?
The increase of firing CEOs?
Yeah.
I don't know. I still don't understand the question, to be honest.
Neither do I. Let's just skip that one then. I don't think it's relevant to me right now, so.
Because I'm not sure what increase we were supposed to be looking at.
Yeah.
Because I don't have that at all. I have no idea what you're
I
talking
might have
about.
skipped. Wait, let's see. Where am I reading this?
That's what Mike wanted to know.
Under 4. I'm with you. It's under 4.
Hey, you found it, Mike.
Oh yeah, I've been following you for about 10 or 15 minutes.
All right. Good. Glad someone's on the right page.
Okay,
I don't know that I am.
Answer. I don't think it will. I don't think it would affect. I mean, however the company works internally, I don't think that's going to affect, people coming to them for their money. I don't know.
It's funny that you said that because it does mention that that's what could go wrong. He said that the demise of his idea is going to go wrong from the inside, not from the outside.
Well, I think it makes sense because it's who they're working with, right? So if you're working with people who then have to go have all of the other general partners give a score and see if somebody's going to veto to see if they'll do business with you.
Right.
Right? Sounds a lot more intimidating to me than going and having a discussion with one person and having that person be able to make the decision.
Mm-hmm.
True.
And have that support for each other. So
yeah, isn't this kind of like the Shark Tank model where they're all just kind of lined up and then whoever, it's like they're throwing out ideas and one of them can accept the idea or make an offer and say, okay, we're going to run with it. If the other person agrees, but I don't know. They're all equal on that board.
I hope to see one of you guys on Shark Tank one day.
Not me.
Okay, nothing.
I'm good. I'll crowdfund. How does the operating team help A16Z source? Pick win.
Well, I think that's what we've kind of talked about a little bit, that the way they're structured is totally different, and so it's helping them to source better and pick better.
They work together better.
Exactly. It's more of a team rather than that hierarchy.
They want to see them succeed. Not, it's not all about me. We want to see others succeed, right?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Does it increase the odds of getting more high quality deal flow? I think so.
I think
I
success
think so, too.
breeds success.
Definitely think so. I think that goes back to loyalty, and with somebody has a really good experience, they're going to tell other people. Didn't they send out a survey of like 5 questions?
Yeah.
If they didn't fund them, what was your experience? And they had like really high returns on it.
Yep.
Yeah.
I don't remember where that was in it, but I do. That's one thing I remember out of the case. Might be the only thing, but
yeah, that's pretty good.
I took something from it at least. I can't find it, but hey.
I do remember reading that. They still got a good review. Like, people would recommend them to other people.
Yeah, would you recommend to a friend?
Yeah.
Mhm.
All right. Does it increase? Yeah. Does it affect A16Z's ability to pick winners?
Well, yeah, because if you have enough good people coming in, you can pick good ones. If you don't have enough options,
Yeah.
well, pick good ones.
Well, I think that someone that may not look at it as a good one, someone might be able to see it as good, and they're going to take the chance on that, and it could be successful. So I think with everybody having different perspectives and different ideas of what they think is good, makes them successful.
I think that ties in with what they were saying about when they'd look at other venture capital firms and saying, you know, well, did these guys come to us? Why did they take this deal? Or, you know, why didn't they come to us? Where was that? It was right towards the end, I think, wasn't it?
Yeah, I know what you're talking about, where they said they did that survey to see if somebody else went, why didn't they come here?
Uh-huh.
Yeah, it's on page 8 that they do a monthly report looking at deals done by some of the others. And if they didn't see a deal that they did, they ask why. Or if
So
they
why didn't we see this? Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, I don't know why I can't place anything in here today, but I remember that part too.
Yep. Nope. Page 8, second paragraph up from the bottom.
What page did you say? Page 8?
8.
Ah, thank you. I'll write that down. All
What
right.
paragraph?
It's the second one from the bottom where it starts with respect to sourcing.
Yeah, I got that one marked. Okay, I'm gonna underline it.
Mm-hmm.
All right. Let's see.
This is gonna be tough.
Does it actually have any impact on the odds of success for A16Z portfolio companies?
Does what have impact?
The same thing we've been talking about.
Yes.
I don't know, my mind's blank. Rating team. It's all in the same same little paragraph here.
Yeah.
I think it's talking about does it the ability to pick winners as well. Okay. All right. Put yourself in their shoes. You must decide whether or not to seek to double your assets under management. We're supposed to vote as a group, and the decision must be unanimous.
Or what?
It's like a hung jury, okay? We're gonna sit here and deliberate until everybody is on the same page. Do I need to order pizza?
I think they should go ahead and try to double, and I said that they should do it by looking at the other sectors, but not geographies.
Yeah, that's what I voted for too.
Okay, let's hear why.
Is the not the geographies, but the, what did they call it?
Sectors.
Oh, sector. Yeah, just go into other technology, because technology, if you go into more technology, you're going to get more offers. I mean, in other words, it's going to be more diverse.
Like clean tech.
Pick up different geographies. I don't see the advantage of that.
Well, and one of them even said that you can really get into trouble if you don't know what you're doing in China.
Yeah, that's what I was going to point out.
And in New York, they weren't sure that they would be supported. And I think one of their big strengths is that they have that vast network in the Silicon Valley, where they say over 10,000 engineers and right, all those people there to help. I don't know that they could build that big of a network in other geographies to be helpful and to be as successful as they are right in the Silicon Valley.
I like that.
Michelle, where are you at?
I vote yes, because most of the other sectors, I'm sure if you dug deep, are either founded or can be run by people that have already been successful. So you already have that track record. So,
yeah.
I mean, if you look at page 18, why we prefer founding CEOs, just the different people that have already been successful. They're like, oh, I didn't know they worked for that. But most people that are successful, kind of like the other case we read, they move on to something else. So it's more of a track record thing. So yes, it's my vote.
Okay. So we are all on the same. I didn't vote.
What's your vote?
I'm on the same page.
Oh, good.
That's kind of where I stand. I don't think they should expand into, you know, other geographies either, just because I do think they could get in trouble with that. Not being able to, I don't know, what did they say about, you know, going into China? And I think Becky was saying that.
Yeah, he said, Andreessen, it's near the end of the case, he said you can really get in trouble. Here it is. It's on page 14. He says, there's amazing opportunity in China, but at the same time, you can lose lots of money there if you don't know what you're doing.
Yes. So that's my reasoning for not wanting to move there. That and, you know, support local.
Yeah.
Let's stick with the United States. Let's support local and get us on our feet, right?
Yeah.
There's plenty of people in China that are doing the same thing, that they can go to them.
Did any of you do that bonus thing?
No way.
Okay, I could not figure that out at all. Mike, I was hoping you would, because you had this going last week.
No, I know. I didn't have time for that.
Okay.
I mean, as soon as I saw bonus, I did. I saw bonus and I saw a bunch of numbers and I said, nah, I don't have time for that.
I read it about 5 times and I couldn't figure it out. And
The next couple
I think I read somewhere that in every case write-up we're supposed to have a figure with, like, pulling something from Excel, and I couldn't figure out what to do a figure of in this case, or what calculations to do. And I couldn't figure out the bonus thing.
I'm sorry. Well, we have until Saturday to figure that out.
With this one.
Right?
Well, if you figure it out, let me know. I don't have Saturday. I got too much going on.
If I come up with some Excel spreadsheet, you know, that'll blow your socks off, I'll share it with you.
Yeah.
You know what, Mike? It doesn't even have to blow our socks off. Just send it out.
Okay, give me until
You're the numbers guy.
I'll try to get it in by 7 o'clock Saturday.
Aren't you like a rocket scientist, Mike?
Am I?
Yeah.
Shouldn't it be like?
I worked on satellites, but not the propulsion system.
Oh. We have faith in you, Mike.
We'll see.
Hey, Mike,
I love
probably have that in by 6 o'clock Saturday, not 7.
I was just making a joke, but I'll see what I can do.
You got priesthood at 6.
No, and plus I owe you that. I came up short tonight on this. I came up totally short, so I'll try to make up for it.
All right, we're holding you to it. How many portfolios companies can one general partner reasonably support?
They said
I have
10.
no idea.
Yeah, they said 10.
Yeah.
They did say 10. I was going to say 8 to 12.
That's a reasonable number.
A little bit more, up to 12.
I would say 8 to 12, based on what they do, and if they're all supporting each other.
Well, that's true.
That's true. I guess it depends on what's in the portfolio. If it's a real complicated portfolio.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Are there any economics of scale in this business?
That's economy. I forget my economics of scale. That means as you get bigger, you're saving money.
Because the bigger you get, you're saving costs. It's like the difference between buying something at Costco or Safeway.
Right, and I think that it applies for venture capitalists. right? If they get bigger and they can handle more portfolios or whatever, then
Yeah, but as they grow, they have to hire more. They have to get more general partners.
Well, they said they were thinking of doubling them, but I don't know that they. Yeah, well.
I mean, that all has to.
Yeah, that was part of the doubling thing, is whether they wanted to double them and were they going to be able to communicate as efficiently as. And what was the word they used? Have something discussions.
But see, can't they? I'm sorry. Go ahead.
No, I'm done.
Okay, well, I mean, can't they do that in kind of a logical way? In other words, if they're going to expand into the technological, I forget the terminology, as opposed to geographical?
So
the technology sector. If they're going to expand into the technology center and include these different technologies, then the new people, you'd hire them to handle those new technologies. And so it's balanced. You know, you have more people and it's a bigger beast, but it's manageable.
I still think it's important for them all to be able to communicate, though. So shouldn't all of them be able to understand all of the technologies?
I don't think they have to understand every little tiny
or
bit.
at least the minor parts of it.
I don't think so.
Just enough to be able to talk about it. They don't have to know the details.
Yeah, plus it's business. I mean, they all understand business. And if one guy understands the technology and he kind of presents it to the others and says, well, it's kind of like this and that and that, and the other guys can run numbers and, you know, contribute their part.
Okay.
To the decision.
Mm-hmm.
Always gives me something to think about, Mike. Because sometimes I always think bigger is not always better. There's always that cost of, you know, growing. It's just sometimes this doesn't work.
Yeah, I mean, that's true.
This is something I don't understand that much either, so I have no opinion here nor there.
Yeah, I mean, I was sitting there talking about portfolios. I don't even know what's inside of a portfolio. So I don't know, you know.
I agree.
I think we just kind of discussed this next question as well. Will you have to hire more operating team people? If so, will the partners actually make more money for doubling their assets, or will all the additional profits go to hire more people?
I don't think so. I mean, if you can work with 6 people and make money, and then, you know, you're working with 12 people and you're just making more money. I
agree.
I mean, it's kind of like speaking of the aerospace industry. You know, I mean, if you're working on a small project, you got 5 people on it. As the project gets bigger, you know, you just have more people on it, and everyone has a discipline. You know, I mean, there's, you know, mechanical, electrical, I don't know, you know, I mean, all the different disciplines.
Yeah.
And there's like signatories. And so the signatory goes and gets the information before he signs. And I kind of see it like that structure where the general partners, okay, what do I need to know to make this decision? And then they go out in the company and get the decision. They collect all the information. I guess that's what's in the portfolio, you know, and then they present it to the group, and, you know, other members have input. But I think Haley asked, does everyone have to be involved? And I don't think that they do. Because the whole company is structured so that it's not one person making the decision at the top. You know, so it's not all funneled up to the top. It's like each one of those general partners can make their own decision based on the information that they collect.
Mm-hmm. And I'm not saying that everybody has to, you know, be involved and everybody has to know everything. I'm more so saying that, you know, everybody needs to be able to understand the presentation coming from others when, you know, okay, here, let me talk about this idea with you and get your opinion. Anyway, moving on. Sorry. Bless you, Dad. Sorry, my dad. My dad's upstairs and he has a really loud sneeze, so you can hear it from like outside even. It's like somebody sitting next to me just sneezed. I think that was our last question. Did I skip anything?
Good. Because I still have something to do at 10.
Yeah, there was a lot of questions today.
That was a lot of questions for this case that were, I don't even know where my paper went. Maybe I put it somewhere where I
You
didn't.
threw it away on purpose because you wanted nothing to do with this case.
I probably put it aside so I could not think about it for a while, and I don't know where that aside is.
Cat ate it.
Yeah.
My cat ate my homework. All right.
Did we
Shall we
summarize it
start?
okay at the end there?
No.
Oh, yes, we did a summary.
Excellent.
Okay.
I think we kind of did just summarize it a little bit, but if one of you guys wants to give a quick, 30-second summary.
I'll pass.
I think the summary is that they wanted to start a venture capitalist firm that was extremely different, that would be a firm that they would want to work with. And so they've created this firm that's attracting people that's completely different, but very successful. So the question is, now that they've become successful and established, should they expand? And if so, in which direction should they expand? And when we voted, we all decided that they should go ahead and expand into different sectors, but not geographically.
Okay.
I like that.
Anything else, guys?
I think that's it.
Okay,
So,
I'm
Michelle, are you
stopping
ready for next week?
Yep,
All right.
I got it.
Stopping our recording.